Hi everyone, I'm Gina Chavez with the Center for Public Policy Priorities, and welcome back to Point of Order, a video series where we're highlighting what should be at the top of our legislators' agendas. Today we're going to talk about school vouchers and how they undermine our public education system and fail to help Texas kids succeed. Here to talk in detail with me is Ann Beeson, our Executive Director. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you, Gina.
All right. Well, this has been a hot topic, so let's just go ahead and dive in. What are school vouchers?
So school vouchers refer to any program that diverts public money from our public school system to pay for private school tuition or other educational expenses. Now, that sounds pretty simple, but in fact, there are lots of different kinds of voucher programs. There are two main programs that are kind of the popular ones these days. The first one's called an education savings account, and the second one is called a tax credit voucher. So education savings accounts are pretty much what they sound like. What happens is that the state of Texas would take money that otherwise would have supported the child to go to public school, puts it in a private account, an education savings account, that then the parents can draw from to pay for private school tuition.
Okay.
Tax credit vouchers are a little bit more complicated. In that scenario, what happens is that corporations, in exchange for a tax credit that they would otherwise owe to the government, donate money to a fund, a scholarship fund, that is then used to pay for private school tuition for students who receive a tax credit voucher scholarship.
Why is this not good for Texas?
Well, the number one reason why it isn't good for Texas is that it siphons off resources that are desperately needed for our public school system to ensure that every child in Texas can get a quality education. Part of the issue is that our Texas schools are already severely underfunded. We haven't updated our school finance system in decades. And the last thing that we need is for more resources to be drained from that public school system to support private schools.
Gotcha. Well, and so how would draining this money, how would this affect our Texas schools and Texas families?
Absolutely. So from the perspective of schools, the center has done a pretty detailed analysis of the financial impact on all of the school districts in Texas, as well as specific districts.
Okay.
And now the details of this are going to depend on, exactly how the legislation is written, right? And we've seen that actually just in the last few months. The first proposal that the Senate considered here in Texas, our analysis showed would have drained over $2 billion per year from our public schools in Texas.
Wow.
The proposal has changed a little bit over time, but even the current proposal would still drain over $800 million every year from the public school system. It's also kind of interesting to think about the impact on particular districts, and just to kind of use one example, let me share with you the impact in the Houston school district, which of course is a very large district. Right. Houston's a very big city. Now, the impact on the schools is going to depend on how many families actually opt for vouchers. It kind of makes sense, right?
Right.
And there's been a lot of kind of debate about this. Well, the fact of it is we know what the experiences have been in other states. And in other states that already have voucher programs, we've seen a usage rate of anywhere from like 5% down to 2%, right? So when we did our analysis on of the impact of vouchers here in Texas, we actually looked at what would the impact be if 5% of kids currently in public school opt for vouchers? What if only 3% opted, and what if only 1% opted for vouchers, right? Okay. So in Houston, here's how that kind of came out. If 5% of the kids in public school opted for vouchers, you would see the draining of over $63 million every year from the public school system there.
Wow.
3%, it would be a little over $38 million. And even if it's just 1%, which doesn't sound like a lot of kids, that would drain over $12 million from the public school system. So you see a pretty devastating impact. This is money that pays pays for teacher salaries. This is money that pays for school buildings. This is money that pays for the programming that we know that kids need to actually succeed in life and be able to, get a great education in public schools, go to college, and get set, on a career track that helps them support their families.
Wow. So what's been happening at the legislature, and what can we kind of expect to see this session?
Well, what we've seen is a bill that was so extreme as it was first introduced that one of our respected policy partners called it vouchers on steroids. That bill would have actually enabled wealthy families, despite their wealth level, we're talking about people that make millions of dollars per year, would have been able to use tax dollars to pay for private school tuition, right?
Right.
It was really quite extreme. The bill did get narrowed somewhat. And that was because of a lot of advocacy, by groups like ours and others. And the bill that passed the Senate just last week, unfortunately, still has the same extremely negative impact on public schools, even though it is a narrower bill. That's the version that, as I mentioned earlier, would drain still over $800 million every year from public schools if 5% of kids opt for vouchers. This goes back to what is the state of play at the legislature now. The Senate passed a really bad voucher bill last week, and it's now gone over to the House for consideration. In the meantime, the House, thank goodness, has been focused on the real issue, which is school finance reform, and they are considering bills that would reform our school finance system in a number of ways. Fact of it is, we all need to be engaged in this debate. I would say get engaged, understand what the impact of these bills are on your own schools, your own school district. Engage your friends and your networks in the conversation. Call and meet with your legislators. There are a lot of resources out there. We have a number of them that can help explain, these policy details. Many of our terrific partners have resources available to. Call your legislator, meet with your legislator, stay engaged, and speak out. Write that letter to the editor about why you believe in public schools and why you do not think that the answer is to siphon off public dollars to pay for private schools, but rather to strengthen our public school system.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Anne, and thanks everyone for joining us for Point of Order. To find out more on school vouchers, please visit our website at cppp.org. That's cppp.org. As always, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more instant updates, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks so much.